Welcome back. Episode 3, guys. We did it. We made it this far. The Bush League Huddle is very proud to present episode 3, 4 wide receivers in the first round for 2024 draft. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be going over the potential wide receivers for this 2024 NFL draft. We're very excited to have you all today here listen to us. We hope you're listening. We really appreciate so far all the wonderful comments we've been getting. Great feedback, really good criticism, but I think we're going to take it in stride. I mean, this is the first time we're doing this, so we're all having fun with it at the same time. But before we get into this week's episode, which we're all very excited about, guys, happy Easter, happy belated Easter. How was? Yes, Buona Pasqua.
Buona what?
Buona Pasqua.
Roger, you should know that. You should know what
you're half.
I know.
By association.
IBM. IBM. Have you guys heard of the term IBM? IBM, Italian by marriage.
Well,
my buddies always make fun of me of that. They joke about it. They joke about that, but Buona Pasqua indeed. And Buona, can we say Buona Mania Week? WrestleMania.
We can say Buona Mania Week. Roger is repping the merch over there for
Very
WrestleMania.
Excited.
Very excited. This is the first major wrestling event that I'll be tuning into in like a decade, which I'm super hyped about because I haven't even been paying attention just like recently. I've been really getting into it. The Rock is really going into that whole villain thing. It's a lot of fun.
Rock is going deep into it. Wrestling's back. Wrestling's fun again. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns
is pissed though. I saw him on McAfee. They were at the school there. I don't remember where they were, but he was in Iowa. That's it.
Iowa.
He was pissed about that. He was just like, oh, everyone thinks that like, oh, they had to leave Hollywood and come back, and he's like, I did it on my own. Blah 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 blah. Like him, and he's referring to John Cena too, who left and then went to do his little Hollywood thing too, and then like had to come back, and like he never left, and he was just as big, and he's like, they didn't need them back, kind of thing. Like we don't need The Rock back. Like I had it, I held it down, but you see, to me, like why is it fun if this guy has been like the champion for what, like 10 years? Like no one has taken anything from him. Like to me, how is that fun?
I agree.
Plus he wrestles like 5 times, like every for like the period of 5 months, I don't know. Basically, like he barely ever he barely defends his title. But actually, Nacc, you explain it pretty well.
Right, just honestly, it's because hearing you're following here, you're following there. You're like, honestly, I have no idea what is all these wrestlers, all these new guys. I have no idea, but it's like everyone he describes it. Every time he goes on a talk show, or every time like someone interviews him, it's like you've been champion for 10 years. Like to everyone watching and being like, dude, it's like this guy's got to be beat, right? Like why is to me, I don't know, it's not fun. It's always the same guy. You want to do it for a while, but fuck, it's been a little. I think it's a bit tired, personally.
It's a little bit old. It's like when the Patriots were winning for all those years. Like nobody really cared after a while, right? So
just no one cared.
Or the Steelers.
Yeah, no one cares. Yeah, exactly. Especially the Steelers.
But we do care about today's episode 3.
Yes, we do.
We're going to be talking about very relative wide receiver information and how they can relate to fantasy for this year as well. And I think we're going to talk about one guy that's probably on the top of everyone's big boards right now, both in a real world fantasy sense as well as in a real world football sense as well as in a fantasy sense. Marvin Harrison Jr. He is definitely. He's going to go number 1 as far as wide receivers are concerned. A lot of pundits and analysts are calling him to be generational talent. I'm hearing comps compared to Calvin Johnson with respect to just like the best possible product since Calvin Johnson has entered into the draft. Roger, I'm really curious to get your take on this too before we dive into it. But this guy seems to have pretty much no flaws from what I can see, as far as what his game does and what he brings to the table. Want to get your take on that?
Yeah. So you guys remember Todd McShay? Maybe you might remember him. Rings a bell. ESPN. He used to be on ESPN.
Was he former GM for the Raiders?
I think he was like a scout, and then he worked at ESPN.
Right.
His take on Harrison makes the most sense for me, which is he steps onto the field in the NFL. He's an immediate 10-year pro. He's an immediate 10-year Pro Bowler. Like the floor is so high, very unlikely to bust. From a technical ability, we'll deep dive a bit technical ability, like route running. And when I watched his highlights, the thing that caught the most was his hand movement. Like the way he breaks press is like a pass rusher. Like he has moves to break the press and he has the size too. So he'll probably be in that like X receiver where he's on the left side. He'll be able to beat press coverage. He's gonna be, I think, QB proof as well. It doesn't matter where he'll go. Very very little weakness, as you said, Fab. And even like the nepotism aspect, right, of like who his dad was, like that has a big factor. The fact that he's been in NFL locker rooms, he's his dad is a Hall of Famer. I'm sure he's taught him so much. Ohio State too. Ohio State is a factory of wide receivers, and over the last 3-4 years, Garrett Wilson, I know JSN coming along a bit, but Garrett Wilson, Olave, Terry McLaurin back in the day, uh, very unlikely to bust. But curious to see what you guys think as well.
I think you said it right. You hit the nail right on the hammer. The likelihood of a bust here is really unlikely. 6'3", 205, like he's a big boy. 28 total touchdowns, receiving touchdowns in 2022 and 2023 combined. 2,500 yards, 17 yards per catch. Like you touched upon it. Like he's an elite route runner. He runs routes with threatening pace and sudden out of his breaks. Exceptional production with high volume, high impact, with high impact targets. So this guy, like you said, is going to come in right away, no matter where he goes, and he's going to have an immediate impact on his team. Um, he has very elite scramble talent as well. I saw a lot of tape that proves that as well. Um, he uncovers wide receivers when plays break down. Uh, Plays with pro feet, so very good boundary catch type of guy. He knows where he is on the field. You know what I mean? Like he's just good with, like you said, hand movements and stuff like that, but like late body adjustments as well. He's just like your prototypical guy. And honestly, for people, a lot of people have been reading about it. It's like, don't overthink it. Pick Marvin Harrison Jr. Pick him first off the board. Do not overthink. You're getting a superstar receiver. And like I said, imagine pairing that with like a Kyler Murray. Uh, he easily falls into wide receiver 2 and borderline wide receiver 1 on some weeks. I think as we get further on into the season, if you had to look at some weaknesses, sometimes in press coverage he did struggle a little bit, and he had some uncharacteristic drops in 2023. So
Yeah,
just got to look out for that. He's got to be able to make those routine catches. It's going to count for more in the NFL than maybe in college. And I see him as his comparable NFL comparable. I see him as like a CD Lamb type player. Yeah.
interesting. Okay, interesting.
Don't disagree with.
Just for the fantasy aspect. Sorry, Fab. I was seeing like Fantasy Life had like their composite rankings, and they had him just below, just after guys like Devontae Adams, but just before like Mike Evans, Drake London,
Yeah.
and Debo.
So wide
But I don't know
receiver
about
two,
like,
like you're
yeah,
he's top.
yeah, wide receiver
I think
two.
he has the
Yeah, I think that's
potential to reach top 20 this year. Like he's got the potential top 20 wide
Yeah,
receiver. Yeah,
especially with
like you
Kyler.
said, he's not going.
yeah,
Well, a lot of these guys go into situations where they're getting mediocre quarterback play, right? Like it's not a lot of players at the top of the, not a lot of teams at the top of the list that are picking have great quarterback situations, right? Kyler Murray is kind of the exception where like he'll find you, like he played very well with Hopkins there, and Hopkins is a, like you said it before, Harrison's QB proof. So was Hopkins. So, I mean, I think he makes. I think it's a great fit because he's got the QB, and it's just like sky's the limit. I think.
don't disagree with any
We
of
said
that.
we
Yeah,
said everything. We said
I got
everything.
nothing else to say. The only thing I wanted to say was that I was looking at his physical stats, right, and I know he didn't do the combine, and he might be getting a little bit of slack for that. He didn't run the 40, all that stuff, which what you're used to seeing. I think he might be the exception to the rule, right, where he doesn't need to do any of that stuff. Like you saw his body of work. Nacc, you said 28 touchdowns. Like the last 2 years at Ohio State, he's been very productive, and does have that nepotism factor. He's been in football his whole life. I mean, I don't think you can knock the guy for not doing all the combine stuff. I was surprised at how big he was, honestly, at 6'3". We even listed at 6'4". I read. Like he's bigger than I thought because his dad was small. His dad was
exactly.
His dad was not a big guy.
And you know what? He's slender for 6'3" though. Like he could put on.
Yeah, he is.
Could put on a bit.
He's like wiry.
He could put a bit of muscle on though. I think he could put easily 10 pounds on and be like a real beast.
Yeah, but he's going to Arizona because they're going to draft him. Let's just call a spade here. Let's not fuck around. Like Arizona should be drafting him at 4 unless unless someone wants to trade in and really want to take him. He's wide receiver 1 there. There's nobody else. Like they just got rid of Marquise Brown.
Greg Dortch.
Right. So he's wide receiver 1 there. Right. Yeah. Like I was saying, pay attention, Roger. Like I was saying.
Look, you can't discredit McBride.
Well, there's Trey McBride. There's a tight end over there. Right? Yeah. Who was money last year. It was fucking money.
But look, he doesn't have to be. I don't think he has to be that. Like,
there's Michael Wilson too, guys. Let's not forget Michael Wilson, who looked good in spurts before his injury. He looked good.
Yes,
just want to say,
yes. But we can all agree that he's going to go in there day 1 and command the wide receiver.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. But he doesn't like. I don't think he'll be number 1 on the depth chart. That's for sure. But as the season progresses, I think he's going to make you. You know what I mean? There's no way he's not going to be number 1. Let's say week 8. If everyone's healthy, if everything is gelling by week 8, the guy is flying. He's the main target, and
yeah, and I think once you get more into team practices and all that stuff, and team training camps and everything, we're going to start to hear more about how he jives with Kyler Murray, how he progresses with him. If you see that connection early on too, it's just going to increase his draft stock in fantasy. Like fucking, there's going to be guys that are going to reach for him. Like in this.
So Mike Evans. So let's say Mike Evans, Drake London. You guys think Marvin Harrison Jr. goes before him, or would you take him?
I would not take him before Drake London. I would consider taking him before Mike Evans.
Mike Evans too, realistically has to slow down, right? Like it's
yeah.
What is he, 30? He's going to be 32, 33?
Yeah, maybe 31 or 32.
I don't know. Realistically, does Baker have the same year that he had last year when he knew it was a payday year? Now he got paid. He could relax a bit. Does he have the same year? Like I'm not discrediting Mike Evans. It's just to Fab's point. Everyone's going to see Marvin Harrison Jr., Guido, and draft him very, very high.
Oh, that's what we did. That's what happened last year with Zay Flowers and Quentin Johnson and all those guys. We all got super hyped about getting rookie wide receivers. Rookie wide receivers. You've seen and Roger, you touched on this earlier. You've seen a progression of the way that they've been performing fantasy-wise. Like these guys don't necessarily come in right away and takes them a few years to get their feet wet and all that. Like they come in and they produce right away. So Marvin, I think the big 3 in general, we're going to touch on the other 2 in a little bit. They can start day 1 and be a contributing member to your fantasy team. Like definitely wide receiver 3 production without a question, probably pushing for wide receiver 2. I think in some scenario, listen, can they turn into Justin Jefferson and put in 1,400 yards in their first year? Sure. We have no idea. We're just doing this for fun, right?
I think it's going to depend on QB situation too, right?
Situation for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I think Marvin Harrison, though, I think he's in the right situation for that because I know Roger's pretty big on that guy, Greg Dortch, whatever his name is there. But like, let's be honest now.
He's at least he's finally getting a wide receiver that's above 6 feet. Kyler Murray is at the very least because he had like Rondell Moore and Greg Dortch.
Well, DeAndre Hopkins was big.
Was Marquise Brown that big?
Oh yeah, that's true.
No,
Marquise Brown was like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah. He does play pretty. He does play out wide though for a guy who's that small. But no, he's not. He's not big.
Just the last point on Harrison being QB proof. So he had C.J. Stroud in 2022. He had a guy named Kyle McCord in 2023. Ohio State, they liked Kyle McCord so much that they they told him, "Hey, you're not going to start." So he transferred to Nebraska. That tells you how mediocre the QB room was for Ohio State, and he still produced the 68 catches, 1,200 yards, like 13 touchdowns. So I think it's a foregone conclusion for Maserati.
Yeah, we definitely spent 8 minutes more than required on this 10-minute segment to talk about who's going to be going first overall. But it was
the people need to know.
They need to know who his father is.
They just gotta not second guess it. Like, I hope a GM just doesn't second guess it, man. I just like it'd be such a tragedy for these guys. It'd be laughable because it's like this guy is not going to miss. He's not going to miss.
No, and again, I think the only way that Arizona doesn't draft him is if Arizona's not drafting him at 4, as if it's another team that just trades up to get him, which I haven't really heard of any rumors about somebody trading up to get, because now QBs are taking over all of the spotlight and all that stuff, right? But I mean, mind you, something, who is it that wants to trade into 4? The Chargers, potentially? Not the Chargers. The Vikings, excuse me. Like, the Chargers are not going to say no to Marvin Harrison Jr. at 5th overall. Even though, like, they haven't really been in the market for a wide receiver. Technically, they should, but really, it's like they haven't been saying anything that they won't. So
Arizona traded 3 last year, right? Back to the Texans.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do they do it again, really, with that talent on the board? Like, I understand maybe they didn't want Will Anderson, but man, like, to do it again, and like how far down you're going to go. Like, you're not even going to get one of the top 3 potentially wide receivers when you're in that spot. And like, like you said, Hollywood Brown left town. You need someone there.
Yeah. And honestly, to pair him with the up and coming tight end too, it's nice. It's a very smart play. I really hope they don't. Well, for their sake, for Arizona fans' sakes, fuck them. So we're gonna move right along then to another wide receiver university, LSU. We got a few guys come out of LSU, which is super, super exciting. One big in particular, Malik Nabers. Nacc, this guy, he does it all, right? He does pretty much everything except for a few things, but for the most part, he's going to be consensus number 2, right?
Look, there's going to be it's all going to come down to who the GM likes better, basically. But I feel like this is another can't miss from a school that's been really shitting out wide receivers lately with Chase, Jefferson. It's just like here comes another one. He's again a little bit smaller at 6 foot, but still at 17 TDs in the last 2 years, 1,700 yards. He's got great burner speed. Didn't just run he ran what, a 4.3? What did he run?
Unofficial 4.3, but officially apparently was a 4.5. So
he's
exactly.
He's still
fast.
Yeah, and also the way he changes speed on a route is like incredible. Premier leaper too, like contortionist talent for air adjustments. Has grab and go acceleration. Like, this guy is really like home run ability, like taking screens to the house. Like, he might need some route running polishing, but I mean, like, this guy is just the sky's the limit for this guy too. Whoever drafts him is getting a gem. I guess you're looking at teams like maybe the Chargers or the Giants that might get him. My comparison, NFL comparison, I guess, to him would be close to a Justin Jefferson type. Maybe not the same kind of production as a Justin Jefferson, but I think similar style of player. But again, maybe just a touch behind Harrison. But again, this guy here, you're still hitting a home run, and I don't know. I guess they're mocking him probably to the Giants. I guess if the Giants go wide receiver, unless people are saying if JJ is still there, maybe they go JJ. But yeah, I think second wide receiver off the board easily.
I have to maybe disagree a bit on the comp. I feel like he's smaller. I see more like Antonio Brown, Tyreek Hill with like the speed. Like Justin Jefferson, he was knocked a little bit on his speed, but he was like more of a fluid route runner coming out. For me, the Neighbors thing, like same thing I heard from McShay was that the it's like low risk, really high reward with Marvin Harrison Jr. With Neighbors is higher risk but potentially even higher reward because of the juice he has, like the speed. He can kill you from like any area of the field, whether it's slot, whether it's at the wide receiver position, and again like ability to take it to the house. I don't know if Marvin Harrison Jr. has that as much ability to take it to the house
No,
as Neighbors does
just
on all three levels.
Just to jump on that, sorry, Raj. So the only knock that you can find that I've found was that Marvin Harrison Jr.'s yards after catch ability wasn't that high. But then
Yeah,
again, it might
exactly.
even just be a product of who he is as a player, not necessarily that lack of ability.
But he still had 17
Exactly.
yards per catch, which
Yeah,
is pretty incredible if he doesn't, if he doesn't have that kind of home run aspect to his game.
Yeah, so I think a lot, and that's a good point, Fab. And I think what Nacc said just about like the juice he has and the speed is totally valid. I think there's some scouts and executives that do have him as the number one wide receiver just because of the ability to, like, when we think of in the NFL, like who's the wide receiver we fear the most? Is it Tyreek or is it Justin Jefferson?
It's Tyreek.
It's Tyreek, right? The speed, it just, whether all three levels of the field, short to break it, take it to the house, medium to take it to the house, deep to separate 5 yards from a defender. That is what I think teams are gearing for, to be able to say, hey, like, let's get someone who, yes, a bit more of a risk because they're not as refined of a route runner, but a lot more reward because they could impact so many other aspects in a game.
Yeah, so his acceleration and deceleration are top notch. Like he gets, like he was compared to like a Tesla, where it's just like, or a fine electric car. If you're not a fan of Tesla, don't come at me in the comments. Like it just where you go 0 to 100 right away, and he decelerates too, which is even more impressive in my opinion, at least, because right away, like your corners, how you gonna cover that? Where you gotta go stops. So he's super interesting. I'm a big fan. I've turned in more of a fan of Neighbors recently, just because I feel like the Giants have a better chance of drafting him. The comp for Antonio Brown, super on point in my opinion, because Brown really had that. He had that acceleration on him, right? Like
three
yeah,
levels,
100%.
three level of
Yeah,
fear.
and also the same build too, right? Like Brown
Yeah.
was like a 5'11" ish or something like that, like not super tall. And Neighbors is 6 foot, 200 pounds. Also, some fun facts. He's finishing as
We need a segment. We need a segment on that. I feel like we need a segment.
We can do that. So, segment for fun facts. It's going to start right now. First rendition, episode 3. Thank you for paying attention, everybody. He's actually, so we talked about all the LSU wide receivers that have ever played for LSU. OBJ, Landry, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. He's finishing as LSU's all-time leader in receiving yards. This guy. Like, he's supposed to be even more highly touted than all the other guys I just mentioned, which is fucking, think about the company that you're in, coming from that university, and guys are talking about you as better than all of those guys.
Yeah,
or like at least as a better potential product coming out. Like
did they have a
I know
Chase and Jefferson
on
on both sides though? Like I know you had a Brian Thomas there, but are they really? Is he a Chase or Jefferson type talent?
I think he's more of a Chase. Roger, correct me if I'm this.
No. But I'm just
Yeah,
trying to say to the point where he's going to be finished with the most yards in LSU. Like I guess to Chase and Jefferson's defense, they both had each other lined up on each sides and both big mouths to fill.
Sure.
Right? Or to
so did OBJ and Landry.
That's not the same.
That's not the same. It's just
was Landry ever as good as Chase or Jefferson?
The guy Flowers, Nacc.
No, he's
Landry.
Guys, I'm not.
They're different player. Different player.
You're kind of getting. You're kind of getting. You're going 6 to
very
midnight.
Defensive for a player that
over a guy who might get drafted by the Giants. That's why I'm just like, okay, he's definitely good. Like Antonio Brown comp, like minus the route running. I could definitely agree.
Yeah.
I could definitely agree with that. I mean, problem with him now being drafted is, what does his fantasy stock look like? If he's going to a Daniel Jones-led offense, is he going to really light it up and wide receiver 2 numbers like Harrison has a chance to, or is he more that wide receiver 3 guy and where are you drafting Nabers? Now it gets interesting where the Chris Evans or the Mike Evans and London aspect, because now I'm probably drafting both before.
Great.
So I saw him below, same thing, Fantasy Life. They have like the composite rankings of like all the guys on there. So I'm below Pittman, Tank Dell, but above Olave, Keenan Allen, and DK Metcalf, which I like. Olave, I find that a bit rich for me.
That's very rich.
Pittman, Tank Dell, I could see, but Olave and even Keenan Allen.
He's ahead of both?
I don't know about that. They had him above Olave, Keenan Allen, and DK Metcalf, and below Michael Pittman and Tank Dell as like examples.
Call me crazy,
for sure.
If he goes to
for sure,
I agree 100%. If he goes to the Giants, if he goes to the Giants, I'm not like he's a wide receiver 3 at best.
Sorry, you guys are taking Pittman 100%. Over him?
Over
absolutely
over Nabers for his rookie season fantasy 100%.
No.
Pittman is low, very high floor, but in terms of like big time playmaking is just not there. Like he's a nice floor, right? But Nabers, if we're talking about Nabers in the same sense of like an Antonio Brown, I'm taking him because the reward you're getting is way but
even with
much
QB
greater.
like your QB there, like there's a QB there that may not, like Antonio Brown always did have Big Ben, right? Like yes, he had that home run ability, but he had a competent quarterback or a soon to be Hall of Fame quarterback throwing him footballs, right? Look, 100%. He's not there, but Pittman had a pretty good year with Gardner Minshew throwing him the football.
He had a great year with Gardner Minshew.
Great year
with Gardner Minshew. Yeah.
Did he not finish with double-digit touchdowns too? He missed a couple games with injury as well. Like he had an amazing year with Minshew. Like I hope that the coach, the Colts coaches are going to tell Richardson, like, dude, you got to run a little less or take less hits and throw the ball more. Like he could still throw the ball. I don't know. I still think I'm taking Pittman. He's like the bona fide number 1 wide receiver there. Targets, everything. I think you have more bang for your buck with Pittman. Yes, home run,
100%.
Yes, Nabers has the guy. He can take it to the house at every shot or every catch he makes. But I don't know. Just with a maybe they're down in a lot of games and they're going to get a lot of garbage time points as well. But I don't know. If I'm drafting right now and he's picked for the Giants, I'll take Pittman before. I'll take my chances.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the situation he's going into. If the Chargers draft him, I'd be much more bullish on Nabers, 100%, because balanced offense, all that stuff that we spoke about, like I think in episode 1. If you guys didn't listen, please listen. It was a great episode for our inaugural episode on the podcast. Please,
I agree with that.
Please give us a listen. Yeah. 90 minutes, but it's a solid 90 minutes. It feels like 60. But if he goes to the Chargers
at 1.5 speed,
at 1.5 speed, ask Spiro how 1.5 speed is. If he goes to the Chargers, he's going to get peppered with targets over there, right? If he goes to the Giants,
I mean that's a bad fit. Chargers a bad fit for him.
Giants haven't had an 800-yard receiver since like OBJ 7 years ago. Like we haven't been able to sustain a wide receiver 1. So I'm not saying that he's not going to be good. I just feel like he won't be as good if he goes to the Giants. And this is coming from a Giants fan because of our quarterback situation, our bad offensive line, and all that.
You don't
stuff.
like him in the Chargers, Raj?
Yeah, that's a good
point. No, because I just they don't prioritize wide receiver. Like that offense doesn't prioritize wide receivers. Greg Roman offenses prioritize running the football and tight ends.
True.
But same thing with Harbaugh offenses, running the football, tight ends.
Yes.
He might have big splash plays, but from a volume perspective,
so you think that the Chargers have more of a chance of maybe going Bowers than they do like a Malik Nabers?
Yes, I do. I very much like Bowers for that team, but I think that might be something we want to talk about in a future episode, potentially.
Nacc, don't have your dessert before.
No. I'm just saying like he doesn't like Nabers to the Chargers. I just thought, look, like they need a guy, right? Like they don't really have anyone there. I understand your point, and I agree with it that there are a run first team, but if he becomes that guy, he becomes the guy there. I don't know. He's got a better.
I don't know their pick situation.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like, would you prefer them taking Bowers over him? Like, I don't have to go into deep dive about Bowers, but you prefer them taking the tight end.
I think they take either O-line or tight end, and I think they prioritize wide receiver because, as we'll see during this show, there's a lot of depth in this wide receiver class, and there's a lot of guys that could be available in the later rounds. I don't know their pick situation right now off the top of my head, but there's a lot of guys.
If he went to the Chargers, you're picking him after Pittman, and if he goes to the Giants, you're picking him before?
That's a great question, Nacc. If he goes to the Chargers, yeah, I think I would agree with the Pittman before. I think Giants less about the QB and more about the opportunity. I think I would have more of a likelihood to take him before Pittman if he goes to the Giants, but take Pittman before if he goes to the Chargers.
Maybe I'm more risk averse. I think in both those scenarios, I'm still taking Michael Pittman, just for the fact that he has that body of work. He is the guy there. They just signed him to a big ass contract. He's going to get all the targets. He's going to get all the yards. Nabers is a rookie coming out. Can he hit for 1,400 yards? I'll be the first one to eat crow if that happens. And I'm saying, take Michael Pittman first. But I just feel like it's a little bit too for wide receiver 2 for me. Okay, cool beans. I'll ride with that, no problem. Like I'll take him over Devontae Smith for sure.
Yeah.
Want to take him over Drake London? I wouldn't. I would still take Drake London this year over Nabers.
So I agree with you. I like London over Pittman too.
Yeah, I like London over Pittman too. Agreed. Yes, agreed. Yeah. Yes. But for me, that's wide receiver. That's neck and neck. Eh? I'm high on Pittman, guys. I don't know. Like I think he's really nice, and I think a lot of people sleep on him.
I think he's really nice. You want to take him on a date?
Yeah. No. I mean, like as a fantasy player, Nacc, don't be jealous. Like he's a very, very nice player.
No, I agree with you. I'm thinking.
I feel like people are sleeping on him, and even Gardner Minshew. Like as a quarterback, like this year, if Minshew's starting at quarterback for the Raiders, stock up for Devontae Adams. 100%.
Really, I can't watch another.
Can we just move on to Odunze, please?
I'm just saying. No, but hold on. Let me think about it. He peppers his number one guys with targets. He knows who to throw the ball.
With targets that go the other way.
Dude, who cares? I'm not saying draft a quarterback. I'm saying draft a wide receiver.
Okay.
Devontae Adams will have a much better season with Gardner Minshew at quarterback than AOC, not the politician. That's Aidan O'Connell for those who are unaware. So Roger refers to Aidan O'Connell as AOC. Roger's thinking now. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry for those who are listening right now. We apologize.
You stumped me. I'm
just saying. I just correlation, causation, whatever. So this was great. Nabers definitely number 2 off the board. 100%. 100%. We're not going to talk about. We're not going to discuss semantics about Malik Nabers. No, I hope he goes to the Giants. 100%. I don't know if he goes to. It makes sense he goes to the Chargers, but who definitely has a chance of going to the Giants is Odunze. This guy has really grown on me ever since the combine, ever since just watching his tape a little bit, following him a little bit closely. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I did have a bit of not an argument, but like a discussion or a point that I wanted to bring up about like who made who. Because it's funny how you have Jaden Daniels, who is one of the top quarterback prospects being drafted this year. And he has most likely 2 of his wide receivers. One for sure, most likely Brian Thomas Jr. 2 is going to go in the first round. So then you wonder like who made who type thing. And I think that might be a little bit more applicable here for Odunze just because Michael Penix isn't as big as highly touted as a prospect as Jaden Daniels is. But Odunze, he does everything so well. Apart from like a few things, not a lot of yard after the catch, but like he's almost like a Marvin Harrison Jr. light to a degree. and his contested catch rate is ridiculous. His catch radius is ridiculous. He is a freak at like, what is he, like 6'3", 215 pounds? Correct me if I'm off by like an inch or a few pounds,
Yeah.
whatever, but like
Yeah,
he's a
6'3",
fucking
219.
unit, man. Yeah. And
Or
his
6'3", 212.
yeah, 6'3", 212.
39-inch vert.
Yes, 39-inch vert. He runs a pretty no, his 40 was like a 4.6, right? Or
4.4.
4.4.
Yeah, look, he doesn't
Solid.
have that
Stupid.
burner
Ridiculous.
speed,
Very
but
solid.
he has big
No, but he
playability.
does everything. Yeah, and he does everything so well. And one thing I really liked about it, because he was one of the few, well, he was the only top end wide receiver that really did anything on the combine, because the other two decided to sit out, which was totally fine. He was doing that the 3-cone drill,
Yeah.
and he just didn't stop until he got the time that he wanted. I was like, this fucking guy. Like, he was the last one there, still doing the drill after everybody left, and he was still. I was like, this, like, you see a little bit of determination. I love that. Um, his route tree is pretty decent for a guy his size. He runs them all pretty well.
He gets
I don't know. I like him a
So
lot. I like him a lot.
So I told you guys, for me, like Alshon Jeffrey is like a perfect comp. Like I even looked at the combine and the pro day numbers. It was the exact same thing, and like the contested catch stuff, like catching at like the highest point. I thought it was like the exact same. Like I went back and looked at his highlights. I remember how much I had drafted him like 2 or 3 times when he was really good with the Bears. I loved Alshon Jeffrey. So for me, that's like a decent comp. I think to your point, Fab, I feel like it's a guy who's very, very hard also to bust. Not as good of a route runner for sure. I think that's where people might have some fear about him, but otherwise, there's very little that would concern me with and great name like Roman, like it's like
yeah,
A+
that's your man
name.
crush.
Like if he
That's
goes to
your
the
man
Giants,
crush.
I'm buying. Well, he's Nigerian too, which I am. That's like A+ name. Like if he goes to the Giants, I'm buying that jersey.
Yeah,
100%.
you guys said everything. He's basically, look. He's built like your typical WR1 in the NFL. He's like you said. He's a big boy. Um, he has great separation on routes. He may not like his route tree is not maybe the best, but he has great separation, which is amazing. Um, he has magnificent body control and acrobatic ball skills. Um, Catches with strong, reliable hands away from his body. So my comp, I like your Alshon Jeffrey comp. Mine was Larry Fitzgerald. That's like
That's a very good one.
yeah. That was
Wonderful.
my that was my comp.
That's great.
Yeah.
Basically, like I said, like his I guess his faults are like some attention to detail on route running is needed. You know, at the NFL level, prefers like contested catches rather than like operating at top speed at times. But I think the way he plays, the way he grabs the ball and has strong hands, yeah, it just reminds me of Larry Fitzgerald so much. And Larry Fitzgerald was never like burner speed either, right? He's just like Mr. Explosive
No,
play.
No.
Um, so yeah,
Super reliable.
yeah, exactly. He's going to be a
Like
reliable
0 drops.
number one. He's projected to be a number one wide receiver on any
Yep.
team. You know, that doesn't have a Justin Jefferson or Chase.
Yep.
what's the best fit? That this one's interesting for me. Like I've seen some mocks where he's still mocked to the Bears, and I actually love that because it allows
Yep.
like more. GJ Moore could still stay on the outside. Keenan Allen, he's the best fit in the slot, especially at his age now,
Yep.
like against slower DBs. And Odunze could work on the X, like the left side. He's big enough to jam to avoid corners jamming him. I thought the Bears would have been still a perfect fit. Not sure though. It's
Honestly, when you start looking at the order and where teams are going to be aggressive moving up for quarterbacks, like one of these guys is going to fall, right? It's going to be Neighbors or it's going to be Odunze. It's like, again, it's going to be who prefers who. But like one of these guys may be available at the Bears, and like if he is, like, man, oh man, did polls turn that franchise around? And like literally,
Yep.
if they can't do it with all of these weapons, the number one overall pick, like best QB in a while, generational this, generational that, then like give up, man.
No,
I have
I
seen him
think he's
mocked.
going to be
Yeah,
there
I
for
have
the
seen him
Bears.
mocked there a lot
Yeah.
because again, who's before them? That like Atlanta is not going to take a wide receiver.
No. Before the Bears, it's Atlanta. It's Tennessee.
Tennessee's not taking a wide receiver.
No. Then the Giants. The Giants are at 6, and the Chargers are at 5. So the Bears at 9. Yeah, like definitely. I think one of the 3 most likely Rome. The other 2 are definitely not going to be there, but I think Rome will be there at 9 for the Bears, but doesn't guarantee they're going to take them either.
They're saying dark horse, like really, really dark horse with like Steelers' relationship with Chicago and Poles, like look to trade up with them. They did have Odunze in for a visit to try to get one of those top guys. So have the Bears trade down and the Steelers trade up to 9 to grab Odunze. If these guys start falling and he's available there, it becomes less pricey to jump to 9 than to 6, where you're going down 11 spots. And they're saying that's like dark horse team to, man. Imagine Odunze on one side and Pickens on the other side. Like I'd
even the Jets.
Yeah, you know what? That was the other thing that they said was Jets, but because the Jets also stocked up on the offensive line, right, through free agency. So they're maybe not like, they don't really need to grab that thing. But dude, if like Joe Alt there, like I think they're gonna take him. Like I don't think they're gonna pass up on an elite offensive lineman either. It's gonna be interesting. Definitely gonna be interesting. But
imagine Rodgers throwing back shoulder fades to Odunze.
But I think the Jets are in a prime spot to get Bowers. They're in a prime spot to get Bowers. I know it's been mocked a lot, and like I just feel like that makes the most sense because he's also a very good blocker. You talked about the offensive line, Nacc. Like Bowers is also a very good blocker. We're going to talk about that in episode 4, guys. Relax, okay? Don't jump the gun, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, we apologize. I got a comp for DeAndre Hopkins. I was reading up on him and everything. And I thought that was a really good comp because, again, contested catch guy, catches everything, very large radius, big body guy, muscles his way through his defenders, his coverage. I would, as a Giants fan, again, in case nobody was listening, I would really enjoy. Like I'd be happy with him going to the Giants at 6. Again, I feel like
it changes every week.
Never mind. Every day.
Literally every day.
But I know that. I know. Hold on a second. Hold on. It's just shut the fuck up. I know it's like realistically, it's like it's Nabers or Odunze is coming to the Giants, right? So like.
Wait till they draft. I can't wait till they draft Joe Alt. I can't wait till they draft Joe Alt, and we're all together.
No,
we're all together.
I'm absolutely
done. Draft Joe Alt.
I'm absolutely done.
No, there's no fucking way, man. There's no way. There's no fucking way.
Random question. How big do you guys think? Randomly, that's a good one. How big do you guys think DeAndre Hopkins is?
6'1".
He's like 6'3". Or no, he's bigger than that. He's like 6'5". No.
6'1".
No. Yeah. He's 6'1". Like he's 6'6'1". Yeah, like it's one of the things that it boggles my mind the way DeAndre Hopkins plays and how yeah, exactly. Like and how small he is. I just thought of that. It's crazy.
Plays bigger than what it really is. Huh.
What do I win?
That's nice.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah.
Fantasy wise, we didn't touch up?
No, we did not, and that's why I was touching on the Giants before I was really interrupted again. I think that him going to the Giants would tank his. Mind you, he is good at contested catches. Daniel Jones can't throw the ball properly. I don't know.
Kenny Golladay.
No, Kenny Golladay was shit, man. No, like Kenny Golladay was like he was only good because of Matthew Stafford. Like, no, Kenny Golladay was such a. I had forgotten about that, Roger. Honestly, that was a part of my life that like it's just over with. I think if he goes to the Giants, we're looking at more of a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. Like he really has to show me something before I can trust him. And it's not because of him specifically; it's more because of the offense around him.
So who's ahead of him? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, put me on the spot. That's fine. It's happened before. I've been on the spot my whole life, Rogers. T. Higgins, definitely Tank Dell. I think if I'm stuck between like Odunze and like Terry McLaurin, I think then I would go like Odunze.
Don't talk about McLaurin with
Rogers scarred.
I'm taking. My God,
we're gonna set up like a GoFundMe account to get you like a McLaurin.
I'm taking Hunter Renfrow over Terry McLaurin.
Oh, okay, here we go.
I'm taking Henry Ruggs.
Okay,
no, forget it. No,
Wow. You're taking Rasheed Rice? That's too soon. That's too
in the UF,
UFL?
the United States
Football
Prison League.
Wow. Are you taking Christian Kirk over Odunze? Yeah.
Yes.
You taking Devontae Smith? Yeah.
No, Kirk, no, because that goes back to how much risk reward. Like I find Kirk is A, injury prone, B, I don't see him having an insane amount of production that outweighs the potential
There's no Ridley.
of
There's
Odunze.
no Ridley.
I got a good
there.
one for you.
I mean, Ridley's gone. His target's got to go somewhere. He did have over 100 targets.
Zay.
Yeah, but Zay
and Gabe.
Zay's a wide receiver.
Guys are all the same.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're
if Odunze goes there, hold on a second. If Odunze,
if he goes, okay.
Me.
So here, exercise. We've been mocking him to potentially Chicago. Now Chicago has Keenan Allen. They have DJ Moore. They have all those running backs. Where do you draft? Where do you see Odunze if he goes to Chicago? He's third in the pecking order there, 100%. Right? We all agree on that. At least to start.
I kind of like Rogers' take though. Yeah, but I kind of like Rogers, mind you. So there's a lot of variables, right? Because how much is Caleb really going to be throwing? Is he going to be throwing 600 times, 650? He's going to hit those 4,000 yards because then there's a lot of mouths to feed on that Chicago offense. And you don't know if Odunze is going to be able to eat as much because Keenan Allen being there in the slot, very good point, Rog. I think he's going to command a lot of targets and a lot of attention, especially until Caleb gets his feet wet. I would feel like can he come out of the gates and I don't know, like Cam Newton did and throw for 400 yards his first game, just have a killer rookie year? For sure. Absolutely. We don't know. Right. So I think it might hurt him a little bit more just because of that uncertainty. Whereas I think if, let's say, Jackson were to draft up or even Nacc the Steelers, I feel like he can have more of a profound fantasy impact.
I think his impact if he goes to Pittsburgh increases tenfold than Chicago.
Well, he's number 2 there, right? He's number 2.
Yeah, and he could potentially push for number 1. Like, is Pickens a number one guy? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think Pickens is like a top 15 wide receiver.
He's a what?
Yeah, top 15 wide receiver. You can push for that.
That's a big.
Yeah. I saw it. I saw it this year. Yeah.
I think for Odunze, so yeah, Keenan Allen will be the safety blanket for Caleb, in the slot. So that makes a lot of sense. Odunze needs a good O line because he's gonna run it deep. Like with Penix, they threw it deep a lot, so he needs someone who will actually throw it deep, a considerable amount and throw it up
Wilson.
Russell Wilson. So that's a very fair point. I don't know. I think
very dangerous.
I think it'll be interesting to see for sure.
So hold on a second. So he's not. So the Bears.
What was the question?
I'll be honest. He could fall to the Vikings.
My original question is, where do you see him? Where do you see him fantasy wise if he gets drafted to the Bears? Like where are you drafting him?
Okay.
Is he a wide receiver 3? Is he a 3-4?
Yeah. Thank you, Nacc. The point I wanted to make was, and we talked about it, there's a risk of a JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, where you're nestled between two Pro Bowlers. Mm-hmm. He was drafted 20th, not as good of a prospect, let's say, but very good touted coming out of Ohio State, and he was nestled between Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and it only took him to the second half of the year to get going. Yep. So there's that risk with him where when there's 2 established guys and you're a rookie and you have a rookie QB, there is some risk there. So I would probably downgrade him a bit if he goes to Chicago. We don't cover dynasty here, but as a dynasty player, that's like an amazing fit for him. I think if he goes to the Giants, I would worry, can Daniel Jones actually get it deep to him? Will Daniel Jones even have time to throw it deep to him? That's the thing.
Yep.
But it's going to be really interesting. Like it's I think there could be a dark horse team that comes and trades up to pick him, because it's not clear cut if it's 100% the Bears or is it the Jets, or is there another team?
Yeah.
Does Arizona secretly like him and then they trade down?
It gets so hard to figure to mock NFL drafts after pick 10 like you're just shooting darts on a board, man. Because you can make an argument for like the Broncos could use him. I know they use a quarterback too, but if they can't trade up for a quarterback and they can't get the guy they want, like they could definitely use another wide receiver in that room. Imagine what like the Raiders if they were to get him. Imagine you pair him with Devontae Adams on the other side, like you're laughing. Colts too with Pittman, Rogers' favorite player. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of places where he would go and make an immediate impact, which would be super, super exciting. But that's a very good question, honestly.
I got a great fit. I got a great fit for the Colts.
Yeah, is it the next guy we're going to talk about?
Yes.
Okay, so moving right along then. Thank you, Roger, for that wonderful segment. You can tell we're getting
segue.
No, segue. Correct. I apologize. So the next guy on our list, another LSU product, another junior in his name, Mr. Brian Thomas. Raj, what do you think about this guy? Go ahead.
Yeah, like it's a lot. I saw a lot of comps. George Pickens. I saw Martavius Bryant. I didn't want to say Randy Moss, but like you don't want to like just not to say he's gonna be Moss, but when I see like Moss was like 6'4", slender, under 210 pounds. When I looked at his highlights, it looked a lot vertical, deep threat who can jump out of the gym. I think his he had a 38-inch vert, which for a guy who's 6'4", 210 is really, really good. And lean, fluid deep target. I think with Anthony Richardson with that big arm to complement the fact that Pittman is more of a possession receiver. Yeah, they have Josh Downs, but he's pretty explosive. Like Brian Thomas Jr. is really explosive, and I think with Anthony Richardson, this could be a really interesting fit for them. And I believe they have the 15th pick in the draft, so that's perfect spot for Brian Thomas, BTJ.
I don't know.
So Colts for me.
I don't know if the Colts are going to take a wide receiver in the first. I'd be hard pressed to see them do that. I mean, I love your fit. Definitely could use another guy like that. This guy, basically, he led the nation with 17 TDs at a pace of 1 every 4 catches. I was reading that today and I was like, what? Every 4 catches had a touchdown. So this guy is just he loves to score TDs with less volume. So he doesn't need that 10 targets a game type deal. Great in press coverage in terms of getting DBs away from him. Again, yeah, I could definitely agree with all your points for Indy. I just don't think they go that high. I don't think they go.
So where does he go?
I think he goes lower, man. I think he goes lower down in the draft. I think he goes after 20. To be quite honest with you, a lot of mocks have him going later on in the draft. I was seeing a lot of people saying that Buffalo might try to trade up a little bit to kind of snag him. I think he'd be a great fit in Buffalo.
I've seen that too.
Uncertainty with Stephon Diggs. I think for fantasy purposes, I think that's where he would have his most relevant. That's where he would be the most relevant, should I say, fantasy purpose wise. If you want to go ahead and anywhere else, he's kind of like that fringe guy, maybe that flex play at times, depending on where he's going. But I think a lot like Buffalo makes for me. It makes a lot of sense. You have Gabe Davis who just left town. Like I said, Stephon Diggs, uncertainty. This guy comes in and starts right away, and I don't know. I think that would be where I would like to see him go at end of the draft.
I saw one mock that had him going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. See, the thing with Pittsburgh is I think it's all going to depend what's there, because I think knowing Omar Khan, I think knowing how he operates, I think he's going to look for that trade up. He did trade up last year too to get his guy ahead of the Jets, knowing the Jets were going to take that left tackle. So, look, if he's there, Pittsburgh might just say, "Hey, you know what? Like that's our guy. We'll take a tackle in round 2, or center round 2, and then tackle round 3." Like that's how it's going to play out for them. They're going in no order. They're going center, offensive tackle, and wide receiver. Doesn't I don't know what the order is. If a guy falls and they absolutely love him, they go for him. But yeah, I have seen a few mocks with him there as well. It just depends on how much they like him to take him at 20.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the drop off now between like wide receiver 3 in the draft to 4 is a lot bigger than maybe what people might perceive it to be, because the top 3 are just like any other draft, not 2024. Nabers is going first wide receiver. Odunze is going first wide receiver. Like those guys are just cream of the crop at the top, right? Brian Thomas Jr. really good. I like the comp of Martavius Bryant. Unlike the other 3, there's less of a body of work with him, right? So there's less of those marquee years where he's putting up 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns. Like you kind of want to see that a little bit more often, and at least in my, like for myself, to really get a good sense of who he can be as a player and what direction he might go overall. I do like the comp and going to the Colts. Having that complimentary receiver next to Pittman makes sense because he's a go route guy, man. Like his wild tree is a little bit limited, but he goes, like he fucking goes, and he does have that that Randy Moss comp. I like it. It's very generous, but I like it. But to Nacc's point,
coming out of school,
yeah.
Listen, like in terms of the slender build and like the deep threat, yeah. I'm gonna get aggregated. For sure.
No,
like
it's just that it's because I know what you mean, because you want to come like especially us doing this for like going this much in deep for the first time. Like it's easy for us to put a baseline if we compare it to a player that we're that familiar with, right? Because these guys are just they're new, they're fresh. Same thing with our listeners too. You tell them Martavius Bryant and Randy Moss, it gives them an idea physically of how they're going to be operating. So I think that's a very good comp, and I don't disagree with that. Just he might not necessarily be Hall of Famer for his life. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does drop off the top 20. I really do. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
It's gonna go with need, right? Like people you can't just reach
because
for a wide
the drop
receiver.
Off now,
like if these guys are looking for
100%.
other positions, and then there's like, dude, there's a lot of good O line too that these like guys are gonna grab, right? Like that's what we're forgetting. I think is there's so many more positions and so many more there's cornerbacks that are gonna go pretty high. There's
edge
rushers
that
that are going to go really
high.
high. There's, you know what I mean? There's different teams have different needs, and I think that's why after the first few fly, like people know that and not going to have to reach for, especially guys. It's a deep draft, right? Wide receivers, so there's a lot of other guys too that are going to be fringe first round, early second round picks as well.
Yeah, and
do we agree?
Sorry, go ahead. No, go please.
Do we agree 15 is like the baseline? Like he doesn't go above 15 at the very.
I'd be shocked if he goes above 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of let's say Colts 15, Bengals 18, Rams 19.
Rams probably go O-line.
You think I could see Bengals taking him and then trading T. Higgins.
They do. I totally the franchise tag, right? They signed the tag.
He just signed the franchise.
He didn't sign it.
Oh no, he didn't. You're right. No, he didn't.
He
didn't. No. So that's still in play for him to be traded, mind you.
Yep.
Yeah, like they could just get someone in in day 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the Rams could be one that's interesting just because they could use more of a deep threat. As much as Nakua is, yard after catch, like he's actually showed some surprising speed. I think the Rams could be an interesting one too. But for me, I can't see him going lower than 20. Like after that, it's Eagles 22.
Eagles, I think
Titans 23.
He can go to the Cowboys at 24.
Cowboys definitely need another Dave.
That's the only splash that Jerry Jones is going to do this offseason is draft a fucking wide receiver.
And they let go of Gallup.
Yeah, like that makes more sense to me because the Rams need O-line help for sure.
The Rams also need O-line.
And the Bengals, and I think the drop off of quality now, but I think the drop off of quality now between the top 3 wide receivers to Thomas is way too large of a gap for those teams that are on the fence between O-line and wide receiver to say, you know what, I still need a wide receiver. The quality of O-lines in the first round is still very, very high. and I wouldn't be
I don't know,
surprised if
man.
they
I think who's
prefer.
picking 21? Miami. Miami's not taking a wide receiver. Who's picking 22? Eagles are not
Eagles.
taking a wide
They're not
receiver.
taking a
Who's
wide
23?
receiver. Vikings.
Titans.
No, Vikings.
No,
23
23
is
is the Vikings.
Oh, it is the Vikings. Excuse
23,
me. Yes.
24?
Sorry.
Cowboys.
Okay, so that's
Cowboys
your
can take one.
potential first. I think they had
Yeah.
other needs, but that's their potential. Now that they let go of Gallup too, that's potential. And who's 25?
Not the Packers. Packers, no. Packers wide receiver room is
No
stacked for the next 10 years.
26?
Tampa Bay Bucks, no. For
27 is
26,
Buffalo?
no. Then it's Cardinals.
Also 28 is Buffalo then.
28 is Buffalo. 28, that makes sense to me. Not even the Lions
If he
at 29.
gets past, if he gets...
Well, actually, no. The Lions at 29.
Lions may make a ton of sense. They Josh Reynolds went to some...
That's my...
No, I think, but at 29, though, at 29, Lions is a prime spot for wide receiver. And it could be some of the other ones.
The Lions,
too,
I think the Lions are going to go one of those top corners. They need corner help bad. And Sutton just got arrested, too, that they just released. They needed already help. I think they're going to go Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid, you know who I think is going to draft Kool-Aid actually is Green Bay. I feel like it's such a Green Bay type player.
Because they drafted
it's just they're used to drafting those guys.
With weird names.
Haha was that safety.
Haha was a safety. Haha. I can't get over that.
But now I think there's a lot of mocks that have him there. But I think who was that guy? Terrion Arnold, that from Alabama. That guy's mocked to the Lions, I think, a lot. Cornerback. The Lions need a corner. I think they definitely go corner before wide receiver, knowing that wide receiver's deep.
Actually, the Rams have defensive tackle being mocked to them.
Yeah, because they just lost Aaron Donald.
Well, yeah,
that was going to be my point.
That makes true.
They have to replace him. Yeah. That's why they're not
going to. But for fantasy purposes, are we? Where would he land? Where would be most interesting for us? Then we can end on this topic. Like, where would we land? I guess Dallas.
Mine was Buffalo.
Brian Thomas Jr. Buffalo makes sense.
Where he'd be fantasy relevant and not like he's still like, to me, late round pick. Like not more than that. Not more than like a 11, 12, 12th round. Yeah,
double
11,
digit.
12th round pick.
Double digit.
Yeah.
He's a flyer. Wide receiver 4 flex type deal. But again, depending on where he goes.
Would you take him over Calvin Ridley?
No. Fab. Obviously Fab would.
Reach his own, I suppose. It's fine. I'm just not a fan of that Tennessee offense in general, so I'm just being a hater. But no, I would definitely take Calvin Ridley over him. That goes without saying. Jerry Jeudy, though, you wouldn't.
Over Brian Thomas?
No. He can't go over established guys who have like WR2 potential or WR2 WR3 production. In my opinion,
I agree with that sentiment. I disagree with that.
I do not like Jerry Jeudy. I will draft Jerry Jeudy before Brian Thomas.
Yeah,
if I'm drafting wide receiver 5, like a flex, at that point I'm throwing darts on a board. I'm looking for home runs. And Michael Thomas Jr. in the right spot. Let's say he's in Indianapolis. He's with the Colts. It could be a good spot for him. You can get some home runs.
Colts, yes. The other one that we said, Cowboys.
Cowboys, even the Bills. I like him going to the Bills. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's really interesting.
Jeudy is your WR2 on the team, right?
Bro, Judy's he's just a guy.
No. I understand, guys. I don't like Jerry Jeudy, but if we're playing fantasy football and we're playing for points, like Jerry Jeudy is going to end the year with more points than Brian Thomas Jr.
He still somehow got was it 900 yards?
I was shocked. I was shocked. I thought he was like 600 or 700 yards.
Yeah.
Like, dude, 900 yards, and everyone was saying that his QB was shit and the team was shit, and this 900 yards. He's having a better season than Brian Thomas.
I think Thomas is so. What can impact him is Thomas is raw. So guys who are raw like that, also there's a chance they don't see the field.
True.
Depending on how they look in practice.
Yep.
If they're are they blocking? Depending on where they go, you have to be a big time blocker in the run game as a wide receiver. If you're not showing that ability, You're riding pine.
But that's what I'm saying. Wide receivers, like if you're not the top echelon, like the first three guys we spoke about, like it's tough to even get on the field in even like 3 wide receiver looks, right? Or sets. It's
That's
not.
good.
It's
and that'll definitely have a
of
fantasy
course
impact.
if you're not getting on the field, like fantasy guys you want are the guys who are always going to be on the field at least in 2 wide receiver sets. Like those 2 guys, those are the ones you want right first. So on the Browns, like who's going to be in those 2 sets? It's going to be Cooper and Judy every single time in 2 wide receiver sets, or most of the time. So that's why I would draft Judy before Ryan Thomas.
It's a good point. I really wonder how Njoku's going to do with Deshaun Watson under center again, because he blew up when it was Joe Flacco there, and now we're talking about the Browns there, and I just wonder if he's going to take a dive again because of Deshaun Watson.
It's wild. It's wild. We're in this world where Deshaun was like 2020. It's literally a top 5 QB.
Yep.
Literally, like the year he had was just phenomenal.
Yep. Oh man, listen. One thing I wanted to bring up and I forgot. Out of all the top 3 guys, Nabers is the youngest. He's a full year younger than Harrison Jr. and Odunze.
He's 20.
He's going to be 21. Everybody else is turning 22.
So he's got that like.
How crazy is that?
He's
got like an extra year. Yeah.
It must be the COVID. I think some guys got like an extra year of eligibility with COVID or something.
Maybe. So Dynasty now, like if you have to choose between Nabers and Odunze, it's like just more of a argument to take Nabers. He has that extra. He's a year younger.
Because they're going to play until one's going to play until he's 45, and the other one's going to play until he's 44.
I think that's a great point, Roger. Listen,
honestly, I disagree with what you just said. Just because, like, with injuries and with whatever, like 1 year more, 1 year less. Like, what if one guy decides to retire? What if the younger guy decides to retire earlier than the older guy, and he's just more effective? You don't know.
Yeah, fine. Let's pull anything else out of a hat.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're putting a dart throw on it, like to go 1 year different.
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
No, but like
I get what you're saying. I do. I just think it's an interesting point about how like he's a full year younger and he's like on par, like 1A, 1B with all these other guys too, and having, I don't know, as a GM, having a player that's a year younger than everybody else, age does play a factor, like with contract talks and all that stuff. I think it's important.
Could also be less mature.
Could also be less mature too. It could also work in against him. I agree. But the guy had 2 solid full years at LSU. It's like proper receiving years at LSU.
I can't wait to get a message more positive and negative tomorrow morning. How we just read a Rome article and now Rome is his favorite again.
Right. On the bright side,
Brian Thomas,
on the bright side, I'll be happy.
Keon Coleman.
Yeah, Keon. Yeah, we didn't get to him. On the bright side, like I'm going to be happy with either one of those 2 guys. On the bright side, so I'll be, at least I'll have a wide receiver 1 to go to have on my team finally.
Finally.
Well, guys, this episode was top notch in my opinion. I think 3 is a charm. I think this is fantastic. I think we got a lot of nuggets of information over here. For those of you listening to us for the first time, there's episode 1 and 2 that you guys got to get on before you hit 3. Okay, so get on that first. Follow us on all the social medias, the Bush League Huddle podcast. If you're not following us now, what are you waiting for? Great content comes out every other day, twice on Sundays. Super fun. You got to get in on this. Always part of the discussion board, especially on Twitter. We're super active on Twitter. So get in on that. I don't know what you're waiting for. You can listen to all of our episodes wherever you listen to your podcast, on Apple Music, on Spotify, on Amazon Music, YouTube,
iHeartRadio,
YouTube.
Somehow we have it there.
You can see our beautiful mugs on YouTube. So that, like, proceed with caution, but still, if you want to have nightmares, go for it. We really do appreciate you guys listening in, paying attention. Guys, great job. It was a lot of fun. And I guess we'll catch you next week where we talk about, do we want to give a preview or no? Want to give a preview? We're going to be talking about, Roger, want to give some preview?
The rest of the prospect.
The rest of the prospect, most notably.
No, but some good ones.
No, for sure. No, for sure. It's going to be interesting. You got to tune in. Listen to episode 3 and get tuned into episode 4. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I just want to give a quick shout out here to my number 1 fan and who's been listening and liking and subscribing, my mother. So, hi, Mom.
Hey, Mama Nacarado!
Amazing. Mommy Nacarado. She makes a great banana bread too, and she's a listener.
She does make fantastic banana bread.
My friends rave about her banana bread.
If we can get some for the pod, you can be our sponsor next episode. If you
Auntie Anna's banana bread.
Auntie Anna's banana bread. Amazing. Well, that's it, guys. Hey, great job. We'll see you next week. Peace.
So.